Hello, fellow key searchers. Thank you for joining me once again for another adventure on The Secret, a Treasure Hunt. Looking at the Houston puzzle, I believe it is in fact a three-dimensional diorama, as back at that point in time when the book was published, dioramas were a very popular teaching tool uh, to tell stories. So with that, let's jump in. So why Tranquility Park? I believe Byron Price was interested in this park as the topic for this puzzle because of the Apollo 11 mission to the moon and landing on the moon, and Houston provided the ground control for that effort. There are 16 plaques originally that were placed around the park that tell the story of the Eagle landing. So Tranquility Park and all of the Ickles, the artist JJP mentioned that the puzzles have these methodologies that were used to tell the story for each puzzle that is unique to each story. For Tranquility Park, it includes a three-dimensional, geographical, astronomical, mathematical, as you can read here. The park is very interesting. It's disorienting, meant to represent the surface of the moon with craters, peaks, valleys. So for example, here, the center mound is at a higher elevation than the mound on the right. And we will see this in greater detail as we move along. So the perspective was lost. I believe that the original painting, uncropped, shows a vanishing point focusing south of the genie's head, um, and it represents a 45-degree angle. The published version is very similar, but I believe what was lost in translation was the vantage point is up, not down, as shown here, keeping the same 45-degree angle. And I will show how all of the clues fall within this XY axis. So this is what I'm calling the sphere of influence. All of the clues fall within this area. As shown, the orientation here is west, north, south, east, just to keep it simple so it's easier to follow. All of these locations were there at the time that Byron Price visited. Again, the XY axis, 45-degree angle, starting at Tranquility Park. We move over to Tam Houston Coliseum and Music Hall complex that hosted the Arabia Shrine Circus, hence the animals in the image, not the zoo. We have Houston City Hall and City Hall Annex. Then we have Sam Houston Park, Library and Research Center, all within the perimeter of Tranquility Park, including Herman Park. That is part of the quote for verse 1. Then we have some side clues. Buffalo Bayou there is the nearest moving body, natural moving body of water. As all of the other puzzles have shown, there was a water nearby. That's what keeps in with the mythology of the fair folk arriving to the New World. All of the major oil company offices are near Tranquility Park as well, which ties in perfectly with the Middle East theme, as the Middle East is known for its oil. And then on top of that, we have the city founders landing site, Allen's Landing, down Bagby Street, which the other puzzles also had some of that historical reference as well. Then keeping the same XY axis, we start plotting all of the clues shown in the image. And starting at City Hall, we have the train represented by the tracks and the Lone Star. The train is the logo for the city of Houston, and the Lone Star is for the state of Texas. We've got the furthest clue from Tranquility Park is the statue of the Confederacy. And then we've got Hobby Center, which used to be the Coliseum, as shown here, and you can see the pillars there. Then we've got the moon mound with the footprint at Tranquility Park in the center, along with the towers that represent the rocket boosters. We've got the other moon mound next to the rocket boosters, water fountains that used to spray up water. We've got the entrance to the parking lot, underground parking lot garage. We've got the moon portal with the water fountain spout, And the moon portal tells a story. It shows the details day by day, hour by hour of how we got to the moon, the flight path, which is absolutely fascinating. Then, of course, we've got the Arabic sphere of the 16 that tells the story of the eagle landing on the moon in the Arabic script. And lastly, we have the astronaut that's etched into the memorial wall there. So we start plotting the clues in the image, matching them. You can see the pillars represented here as a Colosseum, the pillars that are close to the moon mound, the actual pillars themselves in the middle of the park. We've got the genie, the stitching / train tracks to represent the logo of the city of Houston, again with the star, the Lone Star State, the tilted blocks in the image that everyone's wondered about, and the actual representation of the moon for the moon portal. Then we've got the item that everyone believes to be the lion. I disagree. I believe it's just the moon mound, as it shows a path entering there, as shown in the image here, the picture, and then the footprint, of course, that's hidden in the trees of the image. There's the Arabic script as a bonus. You can see that the clouds, spout, storm, whatever that is coming from the genie has a lot of etching. I always wondered why the squiggly lines, and now I realize it maybe perhaps meant to represent the Arabic script. Of course, we've got the etched astronaut in the base of the pillar with the moon on top of it, but oddly enough, it represents a different picture from the moon landing, the planting of the flag. And perspective, all is not lost. Looking at a bird's eye view of Tranquility Park, here's the representation in the original image. If we twist it or on its angle, you can see that it's a perfect match with 3 straight lines and 1 curved line. As mentioned before, the park was designed to have the 16 plaques facing towards the middle of the park to showcase the rocket boosters. And it also represents the 4 corners of the world, as again, part of the theme of The Secret is the migration from the old world to the new world. Then if we look at the genie's face, people believe it's the Miller Outdoor Theater because of the triangular, but if you look at the fountains, it is a perfect match. Again, looking at the perspective, the correct perspective, we can match them up and see that the genie and the pillars are all looking in the same direction. I believe they're looking at the memorial wall at the end of Tranquility Park, or actually the main entrance to Tranquility Park. And it's a perfect match to the actual column itself. As you can see here, the sphere is at the bottom of the image on the left and of the painting, followed by the astronaut etching above it. And then we've got the moon mound above that. And even beyond that, we've got the tilted blocks entrance to the underground garage. Curiously enough, I found a 5-star sweet gum maple leaf tree. It's the only one in Tranquility Park that I believe was planted there as a nod to the Lone Star State, the single star with the 5 points. So all of this leads us again. The whole point of image 8 is to represent Apollo 11's mission to the moon. And here are all of the clues that are, I believe, represent what Byron Price was trying to show us, that it's all about going to the moon. And I'm not going to list all of these, as you can see for yourself, how they're represented. I think for me, the ones that really are the most telling are the leaves that are holding up the rhino pillar. That represents the rocket being held up before launch. Again, we've got the footprint. That is a neat, pretty cool representation. And the lion part, I'm convinced, is actually the booster parts of the shuttle, space shuttle, which is actually shown in the book itself, but that'll be in the next video. And of course, the genie takes off, and all of this is represented again by the sphere in Arabic at Tranquility Park that tells the story of how we got to the moon. So dig spot, of course. There are two contenders. I originally began by focusing on where the ruby is, which is a play on words for Arabic, and the astronaut, as shown here. Again, there was a different astronaut. The one that's on the wall is this one that's facing us, not planting a flag. So then I thought, okay, well then it must be the sphere that is telling us where to dig, but as you can see here, it's uphill from there. It's kind of at an angle, it's not flat. And I realized, okay, well then the only nearest flat surface, as you can see here, is by the trash can. So my original dig spot in the dirt bushes by the Arabic sphere is updated based on the 45-degree angle. I'm moving now to a revised spot, which is in front of the etched astronaut that represents the 45-degree angles as shown here in the painting. Again, because of the way the ruby is shown on the brick, the angle, if you were to straighten that angle, that brick directly to a normal rectangle, you would see that it's a 45-degree angle as well. I think that's our biggest clue to dig in front of there, in front of the etched astronaut, as shown here by the dig area. And as a bonus, I've been beating my head over why the head wrap, kafiyeh, turban looks so odd for the genie. And then I realized, well, the logo for the Apollo mission was the eagle, as the eagle has landed, the famous words from Neil Armstrong. And then I realized perhaps the shadows of the genie are actually representing an eagle landing. If you really look at it, it is a very rough depiction of an eagle either flying or landing or grabbing something as shown in the Apollo logo. So with that, I hope we've something that'll move this puzzle forward. I firmly believe that it is at Tranquility Park and not Herman Zoo. So in the next video, I will actually break down the verse and show some of the supporting clues that are shown in the back of the book, such as the images, illustrations, even the characters. So with that, till next time.